Welcome everyone. Really happy to have this crew on board because I was hoping to have this gathering last month actually, to sit down with Nate, Pedja and Aaron Chapel-Decker to sit down somewhere on the banks of Danube or Sava, because Nate Regier was supposed to be a keynote speaker at Pedja's huge event that was supposed to take place in Belgrade, Serbia, Playground. And the other aspect of it is also that Nate and Pedja have been working together, collaborating for some years, and I'll ask you guys to share that as well a little bit. And Pedja and I didn't get a chance to get together, although we live, well, Pedja has double residence in Prague and Belgrade, but comes more often to Belgrade than Nate. And, you know, we should all thank to Corona for making this happen. So at least get some positives out of this crisis. So Nate, welcome back, and thank you very much for making the time again this week to talk. And Pedja, thank you for joining us from Prague, where there is another member of Jovanovic family joining you soon. So that's a big thing, especially now. And welcome to Christina Lozanowska, who joined us right now for this discussion. Yes, guys, how are things now? Let's check it out, how it is in Kansas, in Newton, Kansas, and how it is in Prague.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you, Djordje, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you, Pedja, as well. Certainly was disappointed to not get to go to Belgrade here last month, and I believe that was one of the first events that was a victim of coronavirus. Here in Kansas, we are probably at the top of the curve, maybe starting to go down the other side, starting to have conversations about what it would look like to begin opening things again, although that brings with it a whole host of other issues. I'm working from home, and no one goes to our office anymore, so it's empty. So I work from there sometimes when I need to get away. I have a full house of children here, college and high school kids. So,
what about you, Pedja? You can't get out of home right now. Pedja? Oh, I guess. Oh, there you are.
Like my Zoom was making some problems for me. So I'm currently in Prague, and things here are quite well, I would say. Like there's some announcements that maybe even from next week, some things will be open, and we have a possibility here to go in nature, although in small groups, and I mean it works for us. We are expecting baby, so we have this excitement about this thing, and definitely one bad thing with canceling this event and making us stay wherever we are brought some good things, is that now we spend more time with our families. That's a good thing.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So what I would like to add is that we're planning to have this conversation for about an hour. Christina, if you have any questions, please feel free to join via chat. And what I would like us to kick off with is Pedja Playground Conference. Huge event that you planned. Nate was supposed to be the keynote speaker there. And let's start with you. What are the feelings and about canceling this event? And then, of course, you, Nate, how did you feel when you learned that you would have to cancel your flight to Belgrade?
Well, like we were not sure what will happen with this all these things. We were following official and unofficial information, and at one point when we realized that the danger is real, I said, well, okay, well, I mean, let's cancel it, and we will organize it. I don't foresee that we canceled it really. I think that we postponed it for another period because everything was ready. But the moment when there was official info that gatherings are not are forbidden, I mean, that's it. I mean, we canceled the event, and that's how it is. I mean, there was
excuse me, let's just put it in this perspective, especially for the viewers that don't know what the conference was about and how big it was. So it's not an easy event to organize. How many participants were you expecting? You know, from where, from around the world? Why were you organizing it? You know, what are those things? And it's not an easy thing to say, okay, now we have to cancel, because I'm sure you invested a lot of energy and emotions in it.
Yes, that's right. There was lots of disappointment in our team. We expected 150 people. We expected speakers from USA. Nate was about to come. Then from UK. Then from Armenia. Then from Poland. Then from India. Some other countries that I just don't remember right now. And then guests from other countries as well. This was 6th regional coaching conference, and this time the title of the conference was Playground. So there was lots of organization in terms of production. Like, I will not uncover things because we expect that the event will happen once when things get in order again. So like, but our team, our marketing team did a lot of work around the organization of the event, and really when we realized that we need to cancel it, it was like, oh my God. But you know, like it's
so basically it's like for any other industry, any other organization in the world that was planning these events, similar events or totally different events, a lot of effort, a lot of energy invested, and of course the first emotion is disappointment, right?
Yeah, like we started in September 2019. So yeah, basically cancel it in the last moment.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Nate? How did you feel as a keynote speaker and as someone who works for a long time together with Pedja?
Oh, I was really looking forward to it, and this was one of the highlights of my year. Partly because I've never been to Serbia, partly because of getting to spend time with your team. Pedja and Aaron was coming with me, and we really were working with Pedja to create multiple activities while we were there, and we've been talking about and working on our partnership to bring the message of compassion and help people have less drama, and really finding that message. I was excited to see how that message would resonate in this part of the world with that audience. So all is not lost, though. I'm so happy to hear you say, Pedja, that it's not canceled. It's just delayed. So hopefully we'll be together and be able to continue working on that. I should let you know, one bright spot is that we were planning to do a certification for our Leading Out of Drama program, and we had one person signed up, and Aaron went ahead and finished the certification virtually. So we still did it, even though it was not in the beautiful place where we were going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unfortunately, like one thing about this compassion mindset and actually leading out of drama, I really feel that our region really needs this type of approach, because even now in this time which is not good for not just for our region but the whole world, I feel like that in our region there is a lot of drama around it. and maybe shifting, moving out of drama and moving into compassion is something that we need, especially in times like this.
We talked a little bit about last time, Nate, about this process. First is acknowledging it, that yes, there is some drama, but how was it for you and for your clients, Pedja? How did they deal about canceling this event, and what have you learned from your clients so far in the sense of overcoming this situation?
So what was good about, and I was really positively surprised, is that when we said that the event is canceled and hopefully postponed, literally, and we offered people possibility to return money, and because at this stage we cannot give them a precise date when the conference will take place. Literally, people say, no, it's okay. I think that everyone said that they would like to participate on that conference. So nothing changed. Everything is ready just for a new date. So I was, how to say, first it was like after disappointment, it was a little bit fear, like how now we will handle the situation. But like people reacted really nicely, and we are now happy that we can really just find another date and organize the same event.
And that from my perspective tells a lot about you and your relationship with clients. Although I said we never met personally, Atria Group is a big company when it comes to organizational development and supporting companies and individuals to be their best. But it tells me in this sense that people trust you. So if they said, okay, you don't have to give us money back, depending on the percentage, of course, and you said majority said, okay, let's keep the money, and we're expecting to have this event for sure. We're counting on you, right? So it means they trust you, right?
Yeah,
and
actually, I think that we didn't get a single request for refundation.
Wow!
So it's really
Wow.
really good, and there is a big how to say now expectation from me and from I expect that we deliver a way better, that we organize a way better than we planned. So let's see.
Well, you have a fabulous team, Pedja. I really enjoyed working with your team and some of the people I was coordinating with. Really great people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Djordje.
And Nate, from your perspective, Pedja said, we need more compassion, but on what do we build this compassion? I mentioned trust. How do we get to that trust?
Well, I want to build on what Pedja talked about moving out of drama. And during crisis, we see the best and the worst of humanity, and those are the two polar ends. We see plenty of drama. We also see so much compassion, and drama is possible anytime there's conflict. And for us, conflict is not just two countries at war. Conflict is anytime there's a gap between what we want and what we're experiencing. And a simple example would be, we want to go to the conference and we're experiencing a travel ban. So there's a gap. That's conflict. And so we saw how people responded to the conflict. And a great example is Atria Group and all of the participants of the conference responded not with drama. They came out of the drama and said, we're going to respond with openness. We're going to be honest about how we're feeling. We're going to respond resourcefully and problem solve together. And we're going to respond persistently and trust each other and commit to having it in the future, because we believe in what we're doing here. So great example of moving out of the drama into the compassion right in front of our eyes.
And I think that wouldn't happen if people don't trust them. if they don't trust Atria Group, because I feel it. If somebody is trustworthy, then you don't have a problem when there is drama, right? But
we see
not,
lots.
Or
no,
or?
We see lots of drama even when there's trust, because trust is built or broken in every interaction. It's not something you can count on. It's something that you reinforce every single day. And so I think we should all be working to build trust and be trustworthy, and we should never stop, because it's so easy to erode trust, but it's so hard to build it. And practicing compassion is how we reinforce that we can be trusted, and that we're trustworthy, and that we're willing to trust. I think a lot of people gave Pedja the benefit of the doubt and said, hey, because we're going to trust you. Maybe we don't have a reason to yet, but we choose to, because we care, and because we want and we believe in this. So I think trust is built or broken every time we interact with each other.
Mm-hmm. So in your opinion, and working, I would like to hear from both of you, what kind of companies, or does the size matter in the sense of who's going to survive or not this crisis, and with what kind of attitude? Nate, you want to start?
I would love to hear Pedja's perspective from where you are in the world, because I'm sure it's different from what I'm experiencing.
Okay, I started business in 2008. So it was, let's say the crisis was on the top, and when I started business, everyone said, "Are you crazy? Like you are resigning in a time when." Question is if we will have money to eat and things like that. So how to say, raised out of crisis, I like born in crisis, live in crisis, like most probably one day die in crisis. So for me, it's kind of normal. I mean, that's the crisis all the time. And my perception is that here we need the flexibility. We need to just forget the idea that things will get back to whatever normal was. Definitely, as in any kind of change management or any kind of transformation, one normal moves to another normal and then to another normal. I perceive that we as a company, we are in constant change management. So for us as a small company, we have this culture of change management, and whatever comes in future, well, that's how it is. I mean, we will work with that. And my perception is that companies who will continue to grow and not just survive, but really continue to grow in this period are those who are ready to respond fast on this change. Like story with dinosaurs. I mean, not the biggest one, but the most flexible one. And well, I don't know. I mean, simply it's a new. Although there was lots of crises in the last 12 years of our existence, still this is a new one, different one. So let's see where we go from here.
And your business operates in many countries as well, and it's mostly in Europe as far as I know. So do you see any changes there or differences depending on which part of Europe?
Like my perception is that currently we are quite similar responses are in different countries, European countries. At the beginning, it was we're working mostly with international companies. So first response was, okay, now we need to stop everything, and then after stopping everything, let's do something. And now, since people are still at home working from their home offices, now companies are trying to find a way how to organize this remote work. And my perception is that it's really we have lots of similarities. Here in Czech Republic, response is faster than in our region. ex-Yugoslavia. The way how people react on this is similar. I mean, we hire people mostly, like there is one of these typical questions, are you a team player? Like most of us are team players. I mean, our personality structure is in business world mostly like we need interaction. We have a psychological need to have a daily interaction with people. And now when we don't have it, our psychological need is not met. And then we are getting into distress. So we need to develop enough flexibility for these things. So people react in the same way. Companies have maybe different strategies to deal with it, but like people are the same. This is my perception.
Mm-hmm. Nate?
We have a lot more in common than I thought. I can relate to everything you said, Pedja, and your first question was, what are we seeing in terms, what do we predict the companies that will make it through this and survive? What are they doing differently? I'm reminded of a quote. I can't remember who said it. It says the learners will inherit the future, while the learned will inherit a past that no longer exists. And I think our willingness to keep learning right now is so important. One of the things I've been trying to tell my team every day, I tell them, there is not going to be going back to the way it was. That's something for us to get ready to grieve and to accept. It takes time, but there will not be return to normal. And the things we're doing right now to cope and survive are actually building our future. So we shouldn't look at them as, oh, we're just holding our breath until the coronavirus is gone. We should embrace this because we're being challenged. We're being given an opportunity to build and develop a way of working and living that we didn't have to before, but it was necessary. My wife and I were talking yesterday about, isn't it interesting how sometimes we say, oh, if the world would just stop turning for a week. Oh, if we could just get snowed in for a week, how great would that be? And we've been given that gift. The world has stopped turning just long enough. And I think the question is, will we take advantage of this opportunity to build a new future and not just hold our breath until things go back to normal? And I think companies that embrace that philosophy will be thriving in the future.
And who do you think, in the matter of size of a company, because what we are hearing a lot is the most endangered companies economically are the small companies, right? So does the size matter in this transformation? Does the size matter, or will the size decide whether you're going to survive or not, or who does decide whether a company is going to survive or not?
In my perception, definitely some industries will be hit harder, and others will have an even possibility to grow based on this new setup that we have. Of course, there is one criteria is how financially stable company is and how much resources company has to survive this initial period. I don't know if maybe it will be a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. I mean, we don't know that. Besides those things that are quite, let's say, practical, very you can really calculate them. There are some criteria that can be checked online or in any other way. My perception is that really we talk about different leadership styles. If companies have a leadership style that is flexible enough, that can shift quickly from being slow into being fast, from being too rigid to be flexible, and to respond to this change in a really fast. I think those companies have a bigger probability to move further in this setting. And,
so what you're saying is to have this proactive attitude rather than just reactive and waiting for things to happen, waiting for the government to say how we're going to save you, or waiting for their partners to say, okay, we want this or we don't want that. Instead of that, just looking at themselves, how they can create new value.
Correct. So like acting and then reacting. There is one colleague of mine, Maria, she's on a call. I see her. She has this term reinvention, and I like it a lot because we need to act fast and to reinvent ourselves based on the feedback that we get from the market, from the reality. Reinvention. Yeah. And this is something that I mean. Again, it's a new situation, and it's my perception. This is what we are trying to do, and to do it on daily basis. Mm-hmm. Check what we are doing, what's the feedback, to do something differently until we get some kind of clarity. Because currently, it's really not clear where we go, what's our vision.
I talked to many people so far, and. There are some that say, okay, this change in my behavior might be temporarily. Some people say, I think I see more compassion now and more understanding, and I think we should stick to it. And I talked to some other people, we discussed, yes, maybe there is a good window now being open, that we reach out to everyone personally, and to create this new world in a way. And what kind of changes would you like to see in that sense? Is this an opportunity maybe to create a new world in some way, Nate?
Yeah, I agree with you, and that relates to your earlier question about size of company. I don't know that the size is as critical as the industry and their ability to be flexible. Very large companies that are global, multinational, probably will have to downsize considerably simply to weather the storm financially. The question is, will they ever go back to the same size, or will they find new, more efficient, nimble ways of operating, or not? Smaller companies don't have as big a financial buffer, like Pedja was saying. Smaller ones aren't quite as capable of just weathering the storm. We have to adjust very fast. But we can also multitask. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. We can multitask and get flexible. I do feel like I'm seeing that this is forcing us to get more vulnerable, more open with each other, more personal. We're forming much more personal, intimate relationships with our customers than we did before, because we share a common struggle now. Will we go back to the distance, or will we embrace that? And I think on the other side of this, if we are able to make this part of our daily interactions with people, I think we can break through to a world that is much more connected. I've always believed that we're safer when we collaborate, and we're much more resilient when we work together across boundaries and borders than when we protect ourselves. I think that's drama. So I'm hoping this is forcing us to open up and embrace that opportunity you're talking about, Djordje.
Thank you. Pedja, what do you think? And I would also like to invite our participants to ask questions. Actually, we have one question.
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah, for Pedja, what are the organization culture challenges of large companies during crisis, and what are your expectations that will be important for them after crisis? So one of the things I've discussed with several people is this company culture, right? So a lot of companies will have to reevaluate and reinvent, basically, what your colleague Pedja Maria is saying, their cultures. So by changing their values, what do you see? How do you reflect to this or answer to this question from Christina Lozanowska?
Well, like in a time like this, like where things are changing very fast. So we don't like, there is a lot of I don't know, like lots of I don't knows. This is type of emergency. So we can culture is definitely shifting right now, because right now some people will lose their jobs, some people will get a different job descriptions. The strategy will change from I don't know, going towards creation to survival, and we need culture to support our strategy, and we need strategy to achieve our goal. And currently, for most of the companies, goal is just survive the crisis, and then we need a really fast reaction of leadership team so that we adjust to this new situation and really change leadership style that can be that is needed in this situation. So cultural challenges currently is that whatever was a culture before this crisis, now in the middle of everything, it's a different thing, because we need different behaviors, we need different actions, like our job descriptions are different, and the key pillars of corporate culture are actually leaders. So really aligning a leadership team should align themselves about what kind of leadership style companies needs in this situation, and how to really like send the same message, and to be open about what is going to happen, because we can at the same time show compassion and be results oriented. Mm-hmm. So I hope that everything will be okay, and I really like bring compassion towards my family, towards my colleagues, my team members, my clients, and at the same time reality is that maybe this is the last time that we talk together in these roles. Maybe our company will not exist tomorrow anymore, because we will not have money. And maybe this is how it is. So I can have both. I can have a focus on the results, and at the same time showing compassion. So long story short, I think that we are now in the state of emergency. We need a fast response of all people who are either in formal leadership position or informal leaders. And of course, this is a time where new leaders are emerging. And if companies open to observe what is the reaction of people in such times, there can be many benefits for companies. And what will happen after the crisis? Again, another change management process, from running fast and survive, from being in survival mode to getting in a slower pace, and really showing appreciation to all people for everything that people did, and then have a joint conversation about where we go from here.
It's a great point, especially when you mention the leadership, generally speaking. So what we've learned so far, there is an immense pressure on middle management, especially all over the industries, and now we can see who were the strongest, or who are the strongest, and who are the weakest links in that sense. And was the company culture in that sense good enough to put right people in right places, and have they invest right in their skills, in their key people? What I've learned, one of the people I talked to, his name is Advan, and he works with Siemens Mobility. Their attitude was, it's a huge company, as you all know. Their attitude was, we're going to have a task force, one of the task forces, so they developed several, and one of the task forces that he's leading is actually focusing on Corona crisis as an opportunity. And the mindset of this company is like, okay, we're going to have plan A, plan B, plan C, and we're going to have a special task force for each of the plans to develop them. and it doesn't matter necessarily on who is in let's say official leadership role, rather than to bring the results and brainstorm together to share. And there is no stupid ideas, no stupid questions. So there is this sense of psychological safety in those kind of teams. And this is what we are sometimes, at least from my experience in our region, is what we're missing, that we can tell our leaders, our managers, what we truly think and how we truly feel without being neglected or put down or put aside. So do you see that as an opportunity now, or is it different in the US, Nate?
It's a great question, and I think it relates to Christina's most recent question here. Do you believe in instant awareness on the side of leaders? What do you expect will happen in reality? That's a great question, and I believe I have seen and experienced instant awareness personally. I've seen it happen. I've also seen the opposite, which is without that awareness, we can bang our heads against a wall all day long and make no change. So one of the things that I'm going to share something here in the chat. Right now, culture and brand are being tested. We can't, large companies that had a brand that everybody trusted, everyone's watching. We don't just trust that they're going to get through this. And one of the things that I'm a strong believer in is that brand is the lagging indicator of the quality of your culture. We don't manufacture a brand. A brand is the evolution that comes from the quality of our culture. But if you go before that, the culture is made up of every interaction between the people. Back to your concept of trust. But before that comes mindset. And I think that's what Christina might be talking about. With the wrong mindset, all the interactions will result in a poor culture, and the brand shows it. But with the right mindset, the right interactions follow, and that's where we like to focus, is on, we call it the compassion mindset, but there's lots of different mindsets. It's our attitude that helps us be able to have awareness, or be able to change rapidly, or embrace learning. And so I think when you talk about the strong versus the weak, the nimble, the proactive versus the reactive, we can see the mindsets that right now that are emerging, and they're the mindsets that are able to balance compassion with accountability, or focused on results with focus on people, or creative thinking with being able to implement quickly and execute.
Pedja? Yeah, the microphone.
Yes. So question was about instant awareness.
Yes, and the middle management, where we with that. Do we have enough trust? And should we expect that we're going to speak more freely now in some organizations? But yes, definitely instant awareness. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah. So my perception is that currently, regarding the organizations, but it doesn't matter what type of size of organization is. Instead of having big teams, I would rather go in with the smaller teams, like a team of teams, where each team has a goal that is a short-term goal that needs to be achieved, and giving responsibility, giving open hands to team leader to choose the direction. You know, like when you're in a fog, you need to decide quickly. There is not enough time for checking if something is right. You need to follow your own instincts. So this is a time where leaders can emerge. Where the pressure is, do we call it middle managers, top managers? It doesn't matter. I mean, we are all now managers. We are managing something. So even if I'm staying at home for a whole day, I'm managing my own time, and some days are just shitty days. I don't do anything, and then I didn't manage my own time very well on my own activities. So I would say that managers have a chance. Managers, project managers, team managers, time managers have a chance to grow into leaders. in this period, and I like this. I'm thinking about this term instant awareness, because instant thing can happen if we respond to reality. Like we have a reality and then respond to that reality. Something can click. Answer on this question is I don't know if I believe or not. I like the term instant awareness. I will think about it, and I feel that crisis can help us to realize something about ourselves if we are open to do that.
So for that instant awareness, if I may add, there is a quote that was credited to Mike Tyson. Every boxer comes prepared to a box match, and have everything planned out until they get slapped. So maybe in that sense, there is this instant awareness. So are we going to admit it, and go back and work again, or get up and change our tactics, or adapt and learn from our opponent if we're talking about martial arts? Or are we just going to lay down and decide, hey, let the judge count to 10 and we're done? Or are we going to continue with the same plan and then get hit again until we're out?
I think there is a third way, a third problem. There's there's going after the same plan even when it's not working. But at the opposite end, I think it's just continually changing and trying things and never really evaluating, never taking the time to reflect on if it's working. One of the things we see now is that there's these waves of trends. First, everybody was reaching out to their customers to just show they care, build market value. So, we have to do that. Everybody does it. Now everybody's offering something free. And so it's like there's these waves. You see the fish in the oceans, and then everybody's going here. And I think there's also a role for leadership to stand back, watch these waves, and look further ahead, and maybe not jump on every trend just because everyone's doing it, but start to discern where really are we going to add the most value and be able to make the biggest difference in the world, maybe in 2 months, 3 months, and be getting ready for that. I guess we would call those trendsetters. But yeah, I see a lot of people spending a lot of energy trying to just follow what everyone's doing and jump on board, and then feeling bad because they're behind. And we need to be careful not to fall into that either.
Well said. When you said trendsetters, it's one of the meanings of the word maverick, just to share. So to go back again, what changes would you like to see, and what changes would you like to make as well?
You mean like after the crisis, during the crisis, or?
Those kind of questions. It's very open. You just find
Okay.
where you want to go. Is it more now important, or is it more important for after crisis?
No,
so
for me, it's now.
Okay.
Now,
so
2 days.
What changes would you like to see, and what changes are you making then?
Survive day by day, week by week. Look very, very short term, a week, a month, as far as you can see. I mean, when the crisis started, I couldn't see anything. I mean, my motto is dream big, act smart. And just yesterday, I published a video where I feel like that now it's not the time for dreaming big. Now it's time for acting smart. Big dreams for me in this period is like a month from now. Now, at the beginning, we couldn't see a week from now, a day from now. Then we could see a week, then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks. Now we can see a month. So until this crisis is present, I would like us as a team to really act fast to really act based on our intuition, on the intuition of our smaller teams. So we reinvent our organization. There is, although we are small organization now, we have several small teams, and I want our team leaders like to act as they feel, and based on their preferences, as long as they act in the direction of our priorities. And this is our strategy. We will keep it, and when the crisis is over, then we will see what we will build on that. We will definitely not go back on anything old. If everything works well and according to our plan, Atria Group will continue to be group in terms of having more smaller teams with the bigger responsibilities of team leaders.
And how big is your team?
How
big is your organization?
A little bit less than 20 people, 17, 18, 19 people.
Okay, and you're now saying, I'm just being a devil's advocate a little bit. If a company, a production company, takes that same approach, do you think it's possible, to say for a production company, hey, just spread in smaller teams and you guys do whatever your intuition says?
Well, like different companies are in different situation. So production companies have some rules, have some order. There is something that needs to be done in a certain way. So I believe that when it comes to a real production where people are operating on the machine, there is not so much flexibility. But when it comes to purchasing, the sales department, and it comes to marketing department, when it comes to departments that
research and development, for example, or something
correct.
like that.
Yeah, so in these departments, following whatever was present before this crisis, it's not relevant anymore.
Mm-hmm. Your thoughts, Nate? Sorry.
Our team is smaller. Our response we've completely changed our response to R&D now. Part of it is we have two mantras. One of them is do the best you can with what you have. So we don't have the luxury anymore of spending money to do things. There's a cooking show in the U.S. We love to be entertained watching people cook, but it's a cooking show called Chopped. And a chef is given a basket of ingredients. They don't know what it is, 3 things, and they have to make a dinner out of it. That's what we've been given, is a basket. We opened it up. We didn't ask for what was in it, and we have to do the most with what we have. And so we're getting incredibly scrappy, resourceful, creative by having these limits. And I think that's something that good entrepreneurs probably should be doing all the time, is working within limits in order to come up with solutions rather than the other way around. And so it's been almost, there's something freeing about recognizing and accepting this is all we have, so what can we do with it? And I think that lends to a comment Pedja was making, is this is not the time for dreaming big. This is the time for acting smart. So how smart can we be with what we have? So maybe we put together a virtual course using the platforms we already are paying for. We're not going to go research and invest in some big new platform just because everybody's doing virtual training. We're going to scrap together and make the best one we can with what we have. Later, maybe when we have the luxury of a little bit more time and resources, we can fine tune it, but not today.
That's a great perspective. And what I've been hearing a lot in our region is like, state has to act, these guys have to do this, these guys have to do that. It's like my basket, I only have this much in my basket, but I need this more in my basket. I need this more in my basket to make the meal that I want to make. On the other hand, what you're saying, which I absolutely agree, and I think it's the only possible mindset for any kind of situation, is like what you have right now, you need to take the best out of it. And if something jumps in, even better. But don't, as Pedja said, don't dream big and say, oh, if we could only have this and we'll do it like we are having it and it would be great to have it. No, you have what you have and make most out of it.
Yeah. Yesterday, so our mission is to bring more compassion to every workplace in the world. That's a big dream. And yesterday we reached more people than we have ever reached in a single day for free using a webinar. So it forces us to say, what are we doing now that we didn't do before? It cost us nothing to reach more people than we've ever reached in one day. And so it's really proof that when we act smart, sometimes we can have big results right in front of us. And so I think we're going to see lots of those paradoxes and opposites happening where it's the opposite of what you expect.
Yeah, and talking about opposites, here is Christina's question, very interesting. If the crisis emerges operational work and short period goals, and in the same time we're talking that survival depends on the need of the development of new set of leadership skills, it is a little bit antagonism of our expects, where to put our focus. Do we need development in time of crisis and how to manage that? Yeah, it's a great question, Christina. Do we need development in time of crisis? What I could say from my perspective, if we're aware and if we acknowledge the time of crisis, we are forced already to further develop. But in what ways? I would like to hear also from Pedja and from Nate.
Look, now it's too late. Who asked this question now? It's too late. I'm getting ready for crisis last 2 years. I am waking up every morning, exercising, reading, walking, taking careful, paying attention on my food. So I am getting ready. And then the question was from my friends, so why you are doing this on daily basis? Because I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for what? For the time when I would need it. So now is the time, because I'm already ready for the crisis. So now, I was hardly waiting for something to show what I was doing last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So this question is what you will do after the crisis. Now shoot and run. It's like in basketball, you are training, and when there is a real game, you don't think anymore. Your unconscious mind is doing the work. So like right now, whatever you are trained for, you just deliver that thing. There is not time for development right now. It's a time for a game. It's a real game.
But you do develop through that experience. You do develop through that experience. And you either gonna fail and lose the game, or you gonna even get better with so many shootings, right?
So my perception is right now I don't think about development. Right now it's the time for action. This is a real thing. Mm-hmm. We are not training anymore, because right now it's really survival. Like the question is, we have, I don't know, this number of months. We have money. We don't want to fire people. We will keep the team, and this is the amount of money that we have. And this is the real game. And we will not save. I mean, now it's a strategy, how much we will save, what we will not save. We will do, maybe we made some reduction, and based on our calculation, we are ready to work this amount of months without any income. So it's a real thing. It's a real action. After this action will be over, maybe we will win, maybe we will lose, but definitely it will be time for learning and for development after the action is over, after the game is over. Now is the game.
Okay.
That's my perception.
Nice perspective. Nate?
I have a slightly different perspective. We call it minimum effective dose. And we are all out on the battlefield now, executing the things that we've been practicing. And we still need first aid. And so what one of the things we've been working on for years is pushing ourselves on this idea of what is the minimum effective dose? What is the smallest kernel of learning and development that we can offer somebody to make the biggest difference in the shortest period of time? And so an example of this is in Australia, one of our trainers is delivering for free 30 to 45 minute virtual sessions on inoculation with compassion, how nurses and frontline providers inoculate themselves with a compassion mindset so that they can go back into the front lines and survive. And so for us, we're making a difference by giving the minimum effective dose. And I think that's something that will continue. People will say, how fast can I get it? How fast will it work? I don't have time to invest in these things. So I guess I agree with Pedja, and also I do think that there is moments for us to inject a little dose of something that can make a difference right now in the next interaction that I have to keep me going.
I agree with that, and I also been trying to make things like that possible. So at least being in one of the workshops organized by one of our partners in Vienna, it's like a scrum, you know. We go work, we put down fires, but then we at least come back for 1 second to say, hey, is this working? Is this not? We've been prepared for this all day, but let's just take 2 minutes break to reflect, and let's get back and see if we can do it even better. So I absolutely agree with you, Pedja. We've been practicing enough and working on developing our skills so far. Now we're gonna see the effect of that, right? But we can still, and I agree there with you, Nate, we can still develop more bit by bit if we take those small bits of time where we can reflect and say, okay, just let's see where we're going. Is this the right focus? Like that best shooter, like you are, Pedja, goes on the bench for a 2-minute break, you know, because you're the MVP, and just takes a sip, gets a few thoughts of his coach and team, and goes back and continues shooting even better.
Yeah, I think one thing everybody is learning is mental toughness. That's something that is independent of the technical skills we have. So we can be training all year, but until we play the game, we don't know. And things change. We change after the game. And when it comes down to the final minutes, you want the person that's played the most games to be in there. And so preparing for the crisis and having lived through crises, you know, Pedja, you started in 2008. We did too, in the recession. Starting a learning and development company in a recession when nobody wants to spend money on that, it means that we have to figure out a way to make a difference and add value when nobody wants to pay for it. So in the States, we would say this is not our first rodeo.
Absolutely.
This may be the biggest crisis we've been in our lifetimes, but it's not the first one. We've been in the game before, and we know how to play.
Sure. And in that sense, unfortunately for us, we have a 30-year of history that also puts us in some different kind of rodeo. But that's why I believe that our resilience to this kind of crisis could be better than in some other countries, especially Western countries, only if we have been investing smart up until today. So yeah, guys, would you like to continue this some other time? Because I really enjoyed this, and I really like to thank everyone who joined, Maria, Vesna, both Marias, and Vesna and Juliana and Christina. Would you like to continue this conversation maybe next week?
I would be willing to do this in 2 weeks. I would be fascinated to hear what our conversation looks like 2 weeks from now, because things are changing so fast. And I've learned a lot from you today, Pedja. It's great to hear that. And one of the things I'm reflecting on, I'd love to talk about next time, is both of us, we can channel that promoter energy to take action and be decisive. And around the world, we're seeing lots of negative promoter energy too. and how do we keep that going in a positive way, and comment on that and be a voice of perspective and reason. So many things we could talk about.
Thank you, Nate, for this comment. And for me, what I feel is that we need in our region in Europe like more compassion, because literally because of our different crises that we went through, we have this. We are facing the crisis with the hero mentality, and this is not good. It's really not good. Because whenever you have heroes, you have anti-heroes, and because heroes cannot survive by themselves. And if we would have a more of compassion mindset, that we would really be more resilient to go through this crisis in a more healthy way.
We don't need heroes; we need partners.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
So let's partner up then in 2 weeks. Yes. I would like to thank you both. Pedja, I think there is much more work in front of you and me in this sense of what you just mentioned, to develop more compassion and understanding and respect in the region. And of course, I would love to see you, Nate, in Belgrade. I wouldn't calculate in how many months, but I hope it's not going to be in too many months.
Well, I can tell you my schedule is open.
Believe it or not, right?
Yeah.
So really, really pleasure, and I'm really grateful that we had this opportunity. And thank you, ladies, for joining us as well. So we'll
really appreciate the great questions and the interaction from the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.